Well, welcome everyone to General Manager's Corner. Today we're at Highlands Falls Country Club in Western North Carolina, Highlands, North Carolina, and I'm joined by General Manager Jason Macaulay. Thank you for being here. It's been great
Pleasure.
up here at the club. Can you maybe tell us, we've all heard about Highlands Falls Country Club. Can you tell us a little bit about the history and origins of the club?
Absolutely. Thanks, Howard. Appreciate you being here. Um, the club started in the 1950s, originally called Sky Lake Golf Club. Tried to be developed by a couple of different people, and over about a 20-year period went through a couple of developers and bankruptcies. Ultimately, through a bankruptcy, came into the hands of a gentleman by the name of Leland Speed with Golf Properties Incorporated out of Jackson, Mississippi. He took it over as an owner-developer, went on to put all of the new development in, brought Joe Lee in to finish the golf course, and again, began developing the real estate. Brought his friends up here and went on to run it until he sold it to the membership in 1991. So since 1991, it's been member-owned, board-run and operated, and that's how it operates today.
Now, with this great history of the club, your tenure, you've been at the club for quite a long time.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started? How were you introduced to the club?
I just finished my 15th season. Here I'm getting ready to start my year number 16, and I'm still finding my way. I'm getting used to it. I came here, I was recruited by a number of the members who are from an area where I had come from, which was Memphis, Tennessee. And they had been through a period of turmoil and were in a little bit of financial difficulty and membership difficulty and needed some stability. So I got recruited to come up here at that time. And I think they were looking, as it turns out, they were looking for somebody to bring them what I had, and I was looking for a club to give me what I needed. And it ended up being a really good fit. And I haven't regretted a day that I've been here. It's been an excellent move.
Yeah, that's
Love it.
great.
Yeah, it's a
Great
great
to
club.
hear. One of the things that the club has such a rich history, a long legacy, and these kind of traditions are very important to the genetic, the DNA of the club, if you will. But on the other hand, as we know, the club industry is a very evolving industry.
Oh, yeah.
So how do you balance sort of this rich history of what you have at Highlands Falls with what you're trying to do with the club and move it forward to the next generation?
Well, what's really interesting, Howard, is that I've been here long enough to watch the generations move. That's the first time I've stayed in a club that long, and it's fascinating. And while the history is really vital, and I think the history that is in our club is, it started as this close-knit, friendly group, and that's never disappeared. That culture has remained in the club and does today. And if you were to go to any of the other clubs up here on the plateau, they're all excellent, but I don't think you would find that same culture. So our job is to maintain that, to keep that. I mean, this club being a seasonal club, in the off season, people miss their friends so much that we do trips to other places and they all go down and see each other, and you keep that going. But at the same time, we're in a dramatic time of flux, and the very nature of clubs is changing. Certainly, we can talk about the pandemic and various things that have affected it, but you have to start thinking differently. How you recruit members, how you recruit staff, how you're going to operate. The demands are changing. The age is changing. This was a second home market, predominantly retirement community for a long, long time. That's changing. So all of that requires you to start thinking differently, approaching things differently, and getting a broader vision to make sure you're on track to move into the future.
All right, thanks for that description, Jason. That's great. We love hearing about that. One thing that we wanted to ask you about is with the current state of the club, what have you been finding with the club has been the biggest need here at Highlands Falls, and what have you done along with your board and your members to try to address this?
I think that the biggest need right now in the times we're in is stabilization. We've been very fortunate. We've had a very stable staff for a long time, but that's transitioning now with what pandemic has brought. There's a huge demand for use in the club. People want to be here and utilize the club a great deal, but staffing and those critical things are really pushing us. There also is a demand for a greater diversity in the services we offer. So, for example, I'm looking at ways to probably remodel the kitchen so that I can take one of my private rooms and turn it into a gourmet dining room on Saturday nights while I dine simultaneously in my regular dining. That requires a little change. But that's the desire. There's this desire for every phase of food service that we could offer, they want it. And I think there is desire for enhanced facilities, continuing to upgrade, which we did recently, as you know, but even more. I think there's going to be that demand with new people coming in. And so the challenge is, how do you fund that? How do you staff it? How do you creatively put it together and make sure your facilities match up with what your members are wanting? And I think that's, in the old days of a club, you'd remodel every 10 years. I think you're going to see projects going on almost continuously, year after year. Upgrade your swimming pool, upgrade this, add this amenity. I just, from all of the meetings that I've had with the focus groups and the board, I think that's a part of our challenge going forward.
I think there's a lot of challenges with the club industry, and it's a very fluid industry, as you alluded to, Jason. And here, with your constant improvement at Highlands Falls Country Club, one of the things that was high on the list of improvement was the F&B service, and as far as how that's amenitizing the club. And you recently redid the casual dining, and that's sort of turned the bar into the new heart of the club. Can you tell us a little bit about that remodel and how that has sort of impacted the way things are at Highlands Falls?
Absolutely. To say that made a sea change in what we're doing would be an understatement. We were, like many clubs, we were older. We were afraid, a dozen years ago we did a remodel, but we were afraid to move too far. This time, as you know, we knocked out the bar. We built an indoor-outdoor bar, with dramatic views, doubling our outdoor dining. And the bar, in its form today, has become absolutely the hub. In the old days, when you funneled into the club, you funneled into the formal dining room. Today, your eye and everything takes you into the new bar area. It is full every night. It's filled with people coming in without reservations, wanting to sit at the bar to eat. It's full with people coming in to have drinks before they go out to dinner. It is clearly the hub. In our old bar, I could stand about 10 to 12 people at the bar, and then after that it became 3 deep. The bar is so much bigger. It's indoor, outdoor. You've got 2 sides. It forced us to evaluate our food offerings. We had to create a bar menu this year, which we had never done. And it was enormously popular that it spilled on into my regular dining, so you could choose from either one. But it's really had an impact, and I think it's driving what we talked about for the future in fine dining in a small dining room. And I'm going to change the way we take reservations this year to, yes, Mr. and Mrs. Member, what time are you coming to dinner, but what time are you coming for drinks? Mm-hmm. Because what's happening is everybody shows up, they see their friends, and then everybody wants to sit down at the same time. So we're going to try to expand how we handle reservations because it is so active. It's great fun. I mean, the atmosphere is wonderful in there. And I've never had so much dining at the bar and in that cocktail area.
Yeah, with the activation of the bar and the casual dining area, people are coming earlier, so it's extending the F&B service. Yeah. So a question to you is, what is the impact of that extended and the uptick in the F&B sort of combined with all of your new outdoor spaces? How's that sort of impacted the metrics of the club?
It's been a dramatic. And you can take this coupled with special events that we did. But here we are in a small club. We were open about 5.5 months, and we did about $300,000 more in revenue this year. And on a lot of that, I was mistaken. I thought after COVID that people would want to continue taking takeout. That disappeared for us. It was all on site. Everybody wanted to be in the building or in outdoors. So we had huge volume increase, huge activity increase in all areas, alcohol consumption, food consumption, and private events. And Our challenge, of course, like everybody else, was we did all of that with a lot less labor.
Right.
But that's a problem we're trying to solve going forward. But it's dramatic, the activity. We've always been an active club, but the amount of increase in 1 year was dramatic. And that may also, had a new chef. We had a lot of excitement going on, and that helped too. But I think the whole remodel and the bar really set that off.
Well, the bar is an indoor-outdoor bar, so you have members who can enjoy both inside and when the weather is nice, which is, as a seasonal club, you get that in the summer. But that also extends to the outdoor areas. As a national trend, we've been seeing the outdoor areas really become an important part of the F&B offering. And you were able to get a large section of outdoor dining installed right before the pandemic. Tell us how that was able to really help the club.
I'll tell you, Howard, it was a lifesaver. During the first year of COVID, when people were so frightened about being 6 feet away and who's there, nobody ate indoors. And we used to have about, realistically, 40 to 60 seats outside, and now we're at about 120. So I was full pretty much every night, both the first year of COVID and last year. On rare occasions, if it was a cool evening, people wanted to come inside, or if we were doing a very large event like our typical Friday nights, when I've got 150, 200 people coming in, yes, those people some would eat inside as they got more comfortable later. But the outdoor was a savior. I mean, that was something we planned, as you well know, to take advantage of what we are surrounded with and the views we have and the good weather in the summer. But it became a gift unexpectedly with COVID that really gave us a place to put everybody when they were comfortable being indoors.
Jason, the new bar and the new casual dining area is a very popular area of the club right now. Right. And today members really enjoy it. But take us back a little bit and tell us about the process of how you're able to impact that change, and how were you able to sort of communicate this with the members?
Before the actual construction began, what we chose to do was get involved with small focus groups and allow people to express their thoughts and opinions. Not always in big town halls, although we did some of that. But the small focus groups really paid off. From that, we made a critical decision. And that decision was that we were no longer involving committees. So you basically had about 3 people, predominantly. On occasion, there'd be a couple of more, but predominantly it was a very tight-knit group that was moving forward, making the decisions. And I think in hindsight, because we had the information from the focus groups to use, we were able to make decisions going forward, particularly items like, as you know, in a club, people always want tradition. And we were selling a transitional program. People were afraid it was going to be too contemporary. We knew that certain decisions we made would be best made without the input of 100 people. For example, we were walking through the club earlier, and you notice the bar stools that are a really unique color and style. I don't think with a committee that would have been permitted. And yet, when the end product was here, and those people who would have voted against that, they like it. But they wouldn't have had enough foresight to be forward-thinking enough to want that. So in a number of ways, we did things. Redid the ceiling. You don't think about a ceiling, but the ceiling in the new dining room is fabulous, and there's a long, fun story behind that. And that was quick decisions that were made without having to go back to town hall meetings further. And I think the design of the bar, particularly the interior decoration, we were able to walk that line of knowing we couldn't scare them away with too contemporary, but we knew we had to move away from the full traditional that we had been. We had to have something fresh, and that could only be done with a smaller group. And I think we were successful with that, much to my delight. It made my job a lot better.
So a combination of your communication and the streamlining of the processes, certainly when we presented the design, it was met with a little bit of trepidation, if you will. However, as they look at it today, it's a very popular and well-loved portion of the club.